The words cut through the air like a blade, sharp and deliberate. It wasn't a suggestion, it was a command. The voice belonged to a well-known liberal TV host, his tone edged with challenge, his gaze locked onto Olivia Carter, a young but formidable leader standing at the center of a packed room in the wake of her press conference. Every eye in the room followed his, drawn to the delicate, gleaming necklace around Olivia's neck, a symbol of her faith, her unwavering belief in God, and, as some would later say, her undeniable courage. This wasn't just about a piece of jewelry. This was a moment, an attempt to humiliate her, to strip away her values, piece by piece. But instead, it became a testament to grace under pressure. Who was Olivia Carter? A fighter in every sense of the word, bold, articulate, and steadfast in her convictions. She represented a new kind of leadership, youthful, yet carrying wisdom beyond her years. She had risen as a voice for those who felt unheard, a beacon of resilience in a divided world. That day, she had just concluded a press conference discussing fundamental issues, unity, freedom of speech, and the right to express one's beliefs without fear. But clearly, not everyone shared her vision of freedom. The TV host had a grudge. Their past exchanges had been heated, but this time, it wasn't about policy or political ideology. It was personal. It was about her faith. "Take it off," he repeated, his voice louder now, daring her to defy him. A tense silence settled over the room. Even those who might have agreed with him shifted uncomfortably in their seats, unsure of what would happen next. But Olivia? She didn't flinch. She met his gaze with unwavering steadiness, tilting her head slightly, and then, with a calm and disarming smile, she responded. "You want me to take it off?" she asked, her voice unwavering. "My faith? Because that's what this necklace represents. My relationship with God. My strength. And you're asking me to remove it because you disagree with it?" Her words weren't defensive. They weren't laced with anger or defiance. Instead, they were measured, thoughtful, reframing the entire narrative in an instant. This wasn't just about a necklace anymore. It was about something far deeper. But before we get to her response, which left the entire room speechless, let's take a moment to understand what brought Olivia to this defining moment. Olivia Carter wasn't born into privilege. She didn't fit the mold of a traditional political leader. Raised in a modest home where faith wasn't just a Sunday ritual but a way of life, she learned early on that strength comes from something greater than oneself. Her parents taught her to lean on God in times of uncertainty, to find peace in prayer, and to never apologize for her beliefs. Faith isn't about shouting louder than others, her mother would say. It's about standing firm even when you stand alone. Olivia carried that lesson with her throughout her life. From high school debates where she was often the lone voice for her worldview to college lectures where she faced relentless opposition. She learned that standing for what you believe in often makes you a target, but it also earns you respect, even from those who disagree with you. And standing firm is exactly what she did that day. After the host's antagonistic demand, Olivia took a deep breath, focusing not on the hostility in his voice but on the values she had spent years upholding. Faith, she knew, didn't need to be shouted to be powerful. Sometimes, quiet strength spoke the loudest. "I'm sorry if my necklace makes you uncomfortable," she said, her voice even. "But I have to ask, why does it bother you so much? Are you really offended by a piece of jewelry, or is it something deeper?" A shift in the air. A palpable stillness. Her tone wasn't combative. It was inviting, urging the man glaring at her to stop and think. "This necklace," she continued, gently holding it between her fingers, "is more than an accessory. It's a reminder of the strength I've drawn from in my darkest hours when nothing else could bring me peace. A reminder of the values I try to live by: love, kindness, and the unwavering belief that every person has inherent worth, regardless of whether they share my faith or not." Silence. Even the host, who had been poised to escalate the exchange, hesitated. Something about her words had landed. "But let me be clear," Olivia went on. "I don't wear this necklace to force anyone to believe as I do. God gives each person the gift of free will, the choice to follow him or not. I respect that deeply. But I wear this because it reminds me of something you can't see. It reminds me of how far I've come, the battles I've fought, and the strength I've gained, not by my own power, but by God's grace. She let the words settle, the weight of them undeniable. Cameras flashed, pens scribbled. But what was most striking was the energy in the room, an unspoken recognition that something profound was happening. "You asked me to take it off," she said, her voice steady, "as if my faith is something I can remove as easily as you think. But my faith isn't a decoration. It's not something I put on in the morning and leave behind at night. It's who I am. It shapes every decision I make, every policy I stand for, every interaction I have. And I say this knowing that not everyone shares my beliefs, and that's okay." Now, her words weren't just for the host. They were for everyone in the room, everyone who had ever been ridiculed, dismissed, or pressured to abandon their convictions. "I wear this not because I think my faith makes me better than anyone else," Olivia continued. "I wear it because it reminds me to be better, better than I was yesterday, better to my friends and family, better to strangers who may need kindness more than I realize. That is what my faith symbolizes. And if that offends you, then maybe the problem isn't my necklace. Maybe it's something only you can reconcile." The host opened his mouth to respond, but no words came. He looked at Olivia, then at the cameras, then back at her. His expression flickered, conflict, realization, something unspoken passing through his mind. He had entered this moment prepared to humiliate her, to paint her as an extremist. Instead, she had calmly, gracefully, exposed his bias, not with anger, but with truth. And then Olivia delivered the words many would later call the defining moment of her career. "Unity isn't about making everyone the same," she said. "It's about respecting the differences that make us who we are. This necklace may symbolize my faith, but what unites us is so much bigger than any symbol. It's found in how we treat each other, how we listen, how we build bridges instead of burning them. If you disagree with me, I welcome the conversation, but I won't hide who I am. And I wouldn't ask you to either." The room erupted into applause. The host, visibly shaken, managed a nod, perhaps realizing that, in that moment, he too had been given grace. A confrontation that began with hostility ended in unexpected reflection. Some called it a victory for Olivia. Others called it a victory for something greater: faith, resilience, and the courage to stand firm without tearing others down in the process. And as for the necklace, it stayed right where it belonged, proudly worn by a woman who refused to shrink in the face of opposition. Because true strength isn't found in the symbols we wear. It's found in the principles we live by.